I'm going to ask you all to pardon me a little bit for today. I'm usually better prepared in what I'm going to say each and every single week, but I kind of at the last minute here have kind of shifted what topic I was going to talk about, given the bombings that have happened in Kabul. Now, I talked last week a bit about Afghanistan, about the fall, and kind of what I think a lot of us are all kind of feeling and everything, and now here a week later, we are seeing again another incident there, and one that has had real devastating consequences. Multiple 13 Americans dead, I believe is the last count I saw, and around 90 Afghans who have been said to have been killed as well in that sort of situation. And it's a horrible loss of life, and it also it brings back kind of this one of these sort of ugly beasts that we were kind of at least claiming to be trying to be slaying by being over there, which is, terrorism. These terrorist attacks that target and end up targeting or are meant to target us, but also take out, civilians along with it, with kind of this careless sort of nature and just trying to do damage to what is perceived as an enemy. And, I'm not here to comment on whether we should be perceived as an enemy or not in that part of the world. I will say that I think that with some of the things that we have done in history, it is understandable that people can be viewed that way. But I am an American, and of course I'm going to have an American viewpoint on these things. And so seeing these kinds of attacks does bother me deeply, and my heart really does go out to those people out there who have lost their lives, and to the families who are mourning loved ones and are in a situation that does not seem to be getting better and probably won't anytime soon. I can imagine over the coming weeks we're going to be seeing retaliation from the United States, that we're going to be seeing other issues like this possibly coming up. And I think one of the real things that is important to kind of keep in mind with these situations, something that is very scriptural and is something that people throughout the centuries have clung to as kind of a hope, is this idea that God will, at the end of the day, God will make sure that justice prevails. The idea of Judgment Day that we find so commonly talked about in our apocalyptic literature, and it gets kind of thrown around as sort of almost a terror tactic of its own, really is meant to give hope for people in these types of situations, to know that even if justice is not done on earth for the people who are responsible for events like this, God will make sure that right is done at the end of the day, and that they will receive the punishment that they deserve for causing the loss of lives of innocent people. So that is something that we can keep in mind during this time. This is not, though, to say that is necessarily going to make you feel better. I would expect it wouldn't at this time. I think this is a time for all of us that is filled with kind of complicated emotions and feelings about all of this. And we kind of need to embrace it and work through all of that together. And we should still be praying for the people of Afghanistan. I know a lot of our news coverage is about the Americans who have lost their lives, but there have been a lot of civilians in that country who are just trying to get a better life for themselves, who are afraid, are terrified of what might have happened, who are now dead, and their families are having to deal with that and go through that mourning process and all the issues that go with that. So we should really be praying, doing what we can to support them, which I will admit this part of the world is, it probably is going to feel like very little and might indeed be very little. But we should be keeping that in mind and really keeping that at the forefront of our minds as well. So that is really, I think is really important for us to just have in this mind at this time. So I wish you all well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all next week.